Congressman, do you believe there are tapes? Should the Congress get them?
With Donald Trump, one ultimately never quite knows. But if there are tapes, which in and of itself would be just remarkable and show a paranoia that we have not seen since Richard Nixon, if there are tapes, there is no question that Congress should get those tapes, as well as anyone who's conducting a legitimate investigation, because they would offer evidence into these matters. I don't think there can be any shred of doubt about that. And frankly, I think my Republican colleagues who have been largely MIA in this matter, I think even they would have a tough time saying that Congress does not deserve to hear these tapes if they exist. And
Congressman, when you say you're not sure, you mean that Donald Trump might be lying about the tapes. Is that worse?
Well, boy, call me crazy, but believe it or not, Donald Trump might actually have a credibility issue. He may have just made this up. Who knows? We know, and frankly, I think that we saw this in the Comey decision. He is a deeply impulsive person. This has been reported by a White House that, thank God, has a leaking problem. They continue to leak so that we get this information. He might have literally just had a spur-of-the-moment thought to say that there were tapes, and then 30 seconds later, that's out there on Twitter.
Right. Francesca, I want to play for you that would be the biggest story today if there weren't so much else going on. Adam Schiff, who is a fairly understated member of the Intelligence Committee, pretty careful guy, was on the HBO show Real Time with Bill Maher and basically confirmed his view that if there was no there on Russia, Jim Comey would still have a job. Now, that's his view, but it's an informed one. Take a listen.
What do you say to the no there people? Is there a there?
If there was no there, James Comey would still have a job. The reason why the Russians were successful is because we are so bitterly divided. And one of the reasons this president is so destructive is he keeps feeding those divisions.
Francesca, that's as close as an Intelligence Committee member will get to basically saying he's seen something that means there are crimes occurred, which hasn't been established by the FBI, of course, yet.
Well, and that's something that also hasn't been established by the Senate. We heard Lindsey Graham saying earlier today, Ari, that he hasn't seen any evidence of Russian collusion between Donald Trump or his campaign and the Russians, and also that he hasn't seen anything that would make him think that this warrants a criminal investigation. He said there was a counterintelligence investigation here, but not a criminal investigation. Now, that's key, because that is what he used for the crux of his argument, that there also should not be a special prosecutor at this point. He said that if he saw evidence that there was potentially a crime committed, then he would be more interested in seeing a special prosecutor. But until he sees that evidence, which he hasn't seen at this point, that there shouldn't be one.
There is so much smoke here, Ari. There are 3 people now that this president has fired who are investigating him. Let's not forget Sally Yates, the acting attorney general, who tried to warn the White House about Mike Flynn. Let's not forget about Preet Bharara, the former United States attorney here in New York, who's also doing an investigation. Then you have FBI Director Comey. So that's 3 people that he has explicitly fired who just happened to have been doing some kind of investigation into this administration's and the previous campaign's relationship with Russia. Often where there's smoke, we know there's fire.
Yeah, and Congressman, not to be too flip here, but, you know, people always say, who's watching the watchers? The very way that this FBI director was removed has put at least some suspicion around the people in charge of the Justice Department. Now, here's Senator Leahy in a new letter saying he wants that investigated. We're writing to ask that you examine Justice Department officials' involvement in Trump's decision on May 9th to dismiss FBI Director James Comey. He's sending that letter to the internal watchdog of the DOJ because of all the questions around recusal and propriety. Do you support an inquiry of that, or do you worry that we have too many inquiries stacked on inquiries here?
No, I absolutely do support it. I will tell you, the Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, who was born and raised in my district, he's a great example of someone who had a great reputation, a reputation now that has been deeply sullied by even his connection with Donald Trump. And what a great cautionary tale to anyone who works for this White House. You always come out of it when you're connected with Donald Trump. He skates away. but you come away completely sullied by the experience, and you know that you're going to have a President Trump who will not back you at all. Just ask Sean Spicer.
Right. I mean, and you mentioned Sean Spicer. We have some new reporting later this hour from our own Hallie Jackson about his job. Congressman Brendan Boyle, Francesca Chambers, and Doreen Warren, thank you very much. I'll see some of you later on. The questions, though,